It's my life, it's now or never. I ain't gonna live forever. I just wanna live alive.
Good afternoon and welcome to this special episode of the Martinville Raceway Report. We're coming to you from the Kalahari Resorts in Sandusky, Ohio. In this episode, we will preview the upcoming season at Martinville Raceway. Last year was a great year at Martinville Raceway. There was great racing action, the car counts were increased, and they're building momentum coming into this year. Also in this episode, we will interview a couple people so you can get to know some of the people you'll see at the track, get to know what drives them to the race, and find out what they're looking forward to this upcoming season. So sit back, relax, and enjoy this episode of the Martinville Raceway Report. Welcome back to the JRG Photography Studios here in Elyria, Ohio. This upcoming year at Martinville is promising to be an action-packed year of racing at the track. The schedule has been released, and it's promising to be an exciting year of racing. The schedule will run from April until September, and some of the highlights will include the gates will open April 6th for the very first time this year. It will be a practice day at Martinville, but the gates will be open. And then the following Saturday, April 13th, the gates will open for the first time for a points race. So make sure to come out and be ready to race that day. June 8th, Martinville will welcome the Young Guns Series back to the track. Last year, they were there later in the year, but it was a great day of racing. We'll see them earlier in the schedule this year, but it promises me to be a great day of racing also. And also September 14th, the last day of the year, the last Saturday will be Championship Saturday, weather permitting of course, but as long as we can race that day, all the track champions will be crowned for the 2013 season. Martinville Racing is building off some incredible momentum that they have been able to build these past 2 years, and this year promises to build on that momentum. Also, I've had the opportunity to sit down with a couple of our track champions from the 2012 season, and Shane Cluck and Rich McIntyre were nice enough to give me some of their time, and I was able to learn a lot about them in the interviews, and I would like to share those interviews with you right now. Welcome to the Victory Racing Engine Shop. I'm sitting here with Shane Cluck, driver of the number 19 Weaver Performance Kart. He is last year's Martinville Raceway Super Heavy Clone Champ. He's from Fremont, Ohio. He was born April 8th, 1989, for anybody who's interested in that. And obviously one of his sponsors is Weaver Performance. Now, I'm going to sit here, we're going to talk, I'm going to ask him some questions. This is an opportunity for you to get to know somebody who's going to be racing this year at Martinville Raceway. Like myself, when I'm watching racing, when I have a rooting interest in somebody, it gives me a better opportunity to root for somebody, and it gets me more involved in the racing, and that's one of the ideas behind this. When I first started watching NASCAR, it was hard for me to watch the Nationwide Series because I didn't know anybody. If there was a race where Michael Waltrip wasn't in the race, I really wasn't interested. But as I got to know the drivers, I picked my favorites and stuff like that. Now I love watching the Nationwide Series. The same thing here. You get to know Shane, you may like him, you may hate him, but you'll pay more attention at the track, and that gives you more of a rooting interest when you're at Martinville. Even when maybe your team isn't driving, when you've got other favorites out there, you're paying attention. So, Shane, I'm going to ask you some questions. Feel free to answer honestly, have fun, and
absolutely
go from there. So,
all right.
First thing I'm going to ask you is, how long have you been racing?
I've only been racing 1 year. I think my first really race would have been May of last year, so it's not very long. I've been getting into it right off the bat and going right into racing.
Track champion right off the bat. That's pretty good.
Yeah,
Not a lot of
exactly.
people can say the first year out of the gate they win a track championship. So that's pretty impressive.
It's all support, you know.
How did you get started in racing, go-kart racing in the first place?
It was a funny story. Is last year, my cousin Kyle Watson, he started a track in his backyard. Kind of got all of us cousins, my brother, everybody kind of involved to go out there. We'd go out the Sandusky Speedway, and we'd race around the little asphalt track in the pits and just screw off, basically, you know. And then it didn't take very long. I mean, I had a cart within like 3 weeks, sold it. I went and bought an Icon down in Columbus, and the rest is history. A couple weeks later, went right down to Martinville, and that's how it kicked off.
Well, that's impressive. That's a good backstory. It gives you an idea as far as how everybody's got a different story as far as how they got into racing. Myself, I'm not a racer myself. I'm a big fan of racing, but my son, he's been racing for several years. He races the number 7 Victory Racing kart at Martinville Raceway, and it's him and my father-in-law who have teamed up together, and they've been racing for years. And it's interesting all the different stories. Now, obviously, he said he's been racing for 1 year, track champion out of the gate. Now, let me ask you this: how did you get to Martinville in the first place? How did that come about?
Well, it was one of them deals where we had raced, I think, Sandusky Speedway. I don't know if it was that Friday before, or maybe it was even a rain out or something that week that Sandusky was supposed to race. Well, I wanted to race. It rained out the day before, and was over at the Weaver Performance Shop here in Fremont, and Paul and Andrea said, hey, Martinville's racing tonight. Why don't you come on out? We got everything ready to go, so we did. And it turned out pretty well because I won the first night out.
Well, there you go.
Exactly.
First time out, wins a race. First year out, he wins a track champion. And as any champion, not Jimmy Johnson, Brett Keselowski last year, who won his first championship. How does it feel going into this year? You've had all winter, going into this upcoming year, knowing that you are the reigning track champion, which obviously puts that bullseye on your back.
Oh,
but
absolutely.
But you're the reigning track champion. How does that feel?
Oh, it feels great, and it's such an accomplishment to do it the first year. And, I mean, we had good competition. Kevin Henry was always fast every week. When Andrea Weaver was fast every week out there, she usually whoops everybody's butt. Kyle Mills, guys like that. There's always good competition that's going to show up over there. And I mean, it feels great going into the season where hey, you're on top, but you got room to improve.
Right.
I really didn't win as many features as I would have liked to. I kind of made a lot of rookie mistakes at the end of the year. Kind of threw a couple features away, in my opinion. And I'm coming back in this year to win me some more.
Well, let me ask you this: what's bringing you back this year? I mean, with some people, and I've been guilty of this in the past myself, where you kind of get hot and heavy involved with a sport or an activity or something like that, but after the newness fades away, it kind of gets shuffled off to the side. So, what's bringing you back again this year to racing?
My competitive edge. It's just everything I do, I want to be the best in, and I feel like even though I won the championship, there's a lot more that I can accomplish. There's bigger races out there. I didn't win as many features as I wanted to. I made a lot of mistakes, and I want to improve on that and dominate.
There you go.
Anything less than that, it's just not good enough for me.
What's drawing you back to Martinville this year?
Paul. Plain and simple. Paul DeWald and everybody there. Great facility, great racing. I mean, everything about it, I love it.
Well, I can't agree more as far as with what he said as far as Paul at the track goes. The very first time I was there, I'm just this kid walking up to him, and I've got this camera in my hand, and I'm like, well, would you mind if I take pictures at the track this year? And he's like, you know what, go right ahead. That's the one thing I love about Martinville Raceway. It's a very fan-friendly, very racer-friendly facility. So I can't agree with you more as far as that goes. This upcoming year, you've mentioned we talked earlier, and you mentioned that you've been racing some indoor tracks and everything like that.
Yeah.
But getting ready for the outdoor season to begin, what are you most looking forward to this year?
Not driving 2.5 hours to race. Honestly, I mean, it's a lot of money to go and race indoors and just tearing up equipment. I've hit anything that can go wrong, will go wrong. It's been terrible. I've been fast here and there, and then it just all goes to shambles when we hit the wall and tear up equipment. So that's the most I'm looking forward to. The nice weather and racing outside.
Yes,
So.
nothing better than driving in sunshine, or me watching in sunshine and taking pictures in sunshine. It does help the camera with a lot of sunshine, I will guarantee you that. But it's definitely cool watching racing under the lights outside, and obviously on a nice clear sunny day. Final question for you. I've played baseball, basketball, stuff like that, and there's always teams or people I like either playing with or playing against. So let me ask you this: as far as a driver goes, last year you've done a lot of driving, a lot of racing this past year. Who are some of the people you really enjoy racing with, and maybe tell me why?
Obviously, I love racing against Andrea Weaver, Weaver Performance. just because it's always nice beating the person that's helping you out. I do, and I'll be honest, I didn't really beat her up too often, so that's one of my goals for this year is to beat Andrea a little bit more.
You are on notice, Andrea. He wants to beat you several times this year. The gauntlet's been thrown down.
Exactly. And then on top of it, maybe someone other than her is Kevin Henry. Kevin Henry's always up front. Me and Kevin, 1 and 2. If Andrea wasn't racing, 1 and 2 every night, basically. And when she was racing, it was us 3 usually up front all the time. With Kyle Mills, whenever he would race, he'd be up there as well, for the most part. But great competition. I like racing with everybody. Everybody's pretty friendly. It's pretty, as far as the class goes, it's not really a beat and bang wreck 'em class, at least there anyway.
Green flag racing, always a good thing.
Exactly.
That's the way I look at it.
Exactly.
Well, I thank you for taking the time to stop out and talk with us today.
Thank you for having me.
Shane Cluck, driver of the number 19 Weaver Performance Kart. Look for him on the track. Look for him up front. And more importantly, look for him back in Victory Lane this year at Martinville Raceway. Welcome to the McIntyre Race Shop. I'm sitting here with Rich McIntyre, driver of the number 55 Recreational Power Engineering Kart. He is the 2012 Martinville Raceway Open Champion. He's from New Rigo, Ohio, which we're actually, like I said, we're in this race shop right now in New Rigo, Ohio. Some of his sponsors are Burns Petroleum and K&L Ready Mix. Now, we were just talking about the fact that this year his son is going to return to racing after a 4-year absence. So let me ask you, what was the deciding factor as far as getting your son back into racing?
Well, Travis is my oldest son. He's 13 years old, and the biggest factor in the whole thing is he's just more ready now. He's been out of it for a couple of years. He's just a little older, a little more ready, so I think we're gonna give him a crack at it. He's pretty excited, so we're gonna see what happens.
Did you decide what class you're going to race him in this year?
I think he's gonna run in the open class with us there at Martinville. It's a pretty good track as far as safety and everything goes, and a pretty good group of guys to run with most of the time. So I think it'll be okay for him. We're gonna let him run some laps there and see what happens.
Are you planning on running him a full season, or just kind of like letting him run the first few races and to kind of feel it out how it's going to go from there?
We'll probably feel it out for the first few races and see what happens. Of course, he's pretty excited, so as long as he can run some decent laps and keep her in the hunt and keep her in one piece, I think we'll go from there.
Now,
We'll go week by week, I guess.
that's always a good thing there.
Yeah. You never know what you might run into.
Now we were talking earlier, and we both kind of agreed that one of the things we love as far as racing goes is the family aspect of it.
Sure. Yeah.
As far as we sometimes see a lot of families up there. The whole family's involved: dad, mom, the kids, and everything like that. It's almost like they're their own race teams, and we were talking about that.
Mm-hmm.
And tell me as far as tell the audience as far as what you told me as far as what you liked about the family aspect.
Well, I like that you see a lot of teams where families are involved and it's a family deal. The one group of people that really pop into my mind are Chafin's. They've been racing for a lot of years. I think Jason's been running a couple years longer than we have, and I know his nephew's racing. I know his sister raced for a while, and that's just a family that really comes to mind right away. The Kimple family, Kimple boys, they've been running for a long time, and that's a really neat thing about kart racing, I think, the family deal. Around here, it's pretty much a family deal also. My dad has helped me from the very beginning, and I got involved in kart racing because of my uncle, who was actually racing at the time. And, my brother helps out a lot. My Uncle Bob helps a lot. My Uncle Larry got me into kart racing. So it's pretty much a family deal around here, too. And I think that's always, a neat thing when everybody can stay involved.
Yeah, well, I found out when, I think everybody would agree with this, when families are able to do stuff together, it brings them closer together. I think you'd agree as far as that goes. So,
my boys, they're getting to the age where they really enjoy going. In fact, I don't think I could get the trailer out of here without them going along, and that makes it nice, when you're doing things together.
Yep.
Because kart racing takes a lot of time, and it's nice when you can spend some of that time with your family.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, let's talk about you a little bit. We're gonna obviously you're coming off a track championship
Yeah.
last year at Martinville. Now, one thing I forgot to ask you is this your first track championship, or have you won some other track championships before?
I won a track championship at Little Indy in 2008, and won a track championship in Fremont, Ohio, on the pavement in 1986. So won a couple other championships. Won a Triple Crown championship race at Sycamore one year, and we've been pretty lucky throughout the years to, we never really set out to win any of those championships. Although Martinville this year we kind of did. I kind of wanted to do that, but we've been lucky right from the get-go. We've had some pretty good go-karts, and ran with some good competition.
Well, let me ask you this: coming into this year, knowing that you are the reigning track champion, does that put any different kind of pressure on you to perform? Or is it a case of, you know what, I won a track championship last year, but I know every year it's a different story, it's a clean slate, and just got to go out and do my business again?
Well, I don't know. That's a good question. I don't really think about it that much. We just go, and every race is just another race, and we go to try to see what we can do every week, and it's 110% for us every time, and I don't really think about it that much. No.
Well, let me ask you this. Now, you mentioned you've won a track championship as far back as 1986.
Mm-hmm.
So obviously you've been racing for a while.
Yeah.
When did you start racing? You mentioned that your uncle got you into the racing, but how long ago exactly was that? And just tell me, as far as how has racing changed between when you first started and now?
Well, 1986 was our first year. That was my first year driving, and I had gone 1985 and 1984 and helped my uncle, and I was just a young kid and was mesmerized by the whole thing, and couldn't get enough of it. And by the time 1986 had rolled around, I think that my dad thought I was serious enough about it that he shelled out the money, and we threw our hat in the ring, so to speak. And so that was our actual start. This would be our 27th year. As far as racing changes, I think the biggest thing that's changed is the bodies on the karts now. Back then there weren't any bodies, and there were hardly any Nerf bars on the karts.
Wow.
That's probably the biggest thing that I could think of. That and tires. People spend a lot of money on tires.
Yep.
It takes a lot of money to go fast, and you have to stay on good tires.
Right.
And
Grip is important.
yeah, for sure. Those are two of the bigger things that I can think of. Personally, I don't really care much for all the bodies on the karts nowadays, because I think it's just a tool for rough driving. I think it promotes it and enables a lot of that kind of stuff.
That's a good point.
I don't particularly care for it. They look really nice with the bodies on them. It's great for sponsors and things like that.
Right.
But that's probably the biggest thing that I can think of right off the top of my head, that's changed.
That does make a lot of sense. Let me ask you this. As far as when you're on the track, you mentioned that your son is going to... You like the group of drivers that's kind of out there.
Mm-hmm.
So who are some of the drivers that you really enjoy racing against?
Well, you're only as good as the guys that you race against. I don't know. That's a good question. I mean, I like a big crowd. I like a big pack of karts, I hate it when you go and there's only 3 or 4.
Yeah.
The more the merrier. I like guys that'll run you hard, run you clean, I mean, it is, it's not supposed to be a contact sport, although, I mean, it is a little bit.
Yep.
I don't know, that's a good question. I really can't answer. I like to run with big groups, and, I don't do much indoor racing, but a lot of guys do.
Right.
And, John Ivy's on a hot streak, always, in Columbus, and BMI and places like that. So when you can run against guys like that, and if you can beat those guys, then you're really, really doing something.
You like running against the best. You want the guys who are good, hard, clean drivers that are fast. You want to run against them.
Sure, yeah.
If you can beat the best, that definitely makes you feel good, that's for sure.
Martinville's had a pretty good crop of drivers the last few years. They've managed to keep a pretty decent open show going, and that's a lot of the reason why we ran there. I told my dad there's no sense in really going anywhere else. I mean, some of the bigger kart counts were right there at Martinville in the class that we run, so, you know.
Well, that kind of leads me right into my next question, and you've already answered part of it. What draws you to Martinville Raceway?
It's a nice track. It's a nice facility. I've always thought that. Martinville's had a few different promoters over the years. I think Paul does a really fair job.
Yes.
I'll be real honest. I don't agree with everything that goes on at Martinville, but I don't agree with everything that goes on anywhere.
Right. You can't please everybody.
Exactly. And I think that Paul does a really fair job. That's probably the biggest thing that draws us back there all the time. It's a nice facility. The race surface is usually in really good shape.
Yep.
And, you know, we're not in it for the money. There's no money in it. But Paul definitely pays out pretty good as far as the payout goes.
That helps.
And that helps. And I don't know. Like I said, Martinville's seen its share of promoters over the years. And we've been there under the reign of all of them. You know, we've ran there for quite a few years. But I think Paul's pretty fair about things. That's probably the biggest thing that draws us back there. He's fair, and, you know, the track's in good shape.
Now, you mentioned that you don't run the indoor stuff, so you've had the layoff between the fall and now leading up into the spring as far as getting ready to race.
Right.
What are you most looking forward to or anticipating for this upcoming year?
Well, season opener is always a big one. It's kind of nice to come out on a good note, maybe make a good showing,
Yes.
maybe get lucky and actually win a race. The tracks in the last few years, a lot of places offer their test and tune session, you know, like kind of a warm-up thing the week
Right.
before. That's always a lot of fun and a good chance to get out and, you know, make sure all the loose nuts and bolts aren't falling off. So we're looking forward to that. And the Tiffin Mall Show's coming up in a couple of weeks. That's a long-running tradition in this area. I think that's been going on about 30 years, pretty close to it.
Wow.
And we're looking forward to that. It's always a nice way to showcase your stuff and your sponsors, and we're looking forward to that. You know, I'm just looking forward to getting the grill out and getting some brats going.
Oh,
and,
yeah.
You know, I mean, I hate to mow my lawn, but I'm looking forward to the nicer weather.
Yes.
And I've had enough of this winter time, that's for sure. We're pretty much ready to go, so we're just waiting.
Yeah, my wife keeps saying, when's spring going to get here? Winter's been too long. When's spring going to get here? When's spring going to get here? So I know everybody's looking forward to April. Everybody's looking forward to getting the engines going again and getting back on the track. So
Absolutely.
I want to thank you for your time today. This is Rich McIntyre, driver of the number 55. I want to make sure I get the sponsors correct. The number 55 Recreational Power Engineering Cart. Also sponsored by Burns Petroleum and K&L Ready Mix. You'll see him at the track at Martinville. You'll see him up front, reigning track champion in the open class. And we look forward to seeing him and everybody else at the track this upcoming year at Martinville Raceway.
We'll be there.
Sounds like
Thanks, Joe.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Appreciate it. We have a new segment here on the Martinville Raceway Report. We'd like to take some time of each episode to highlight a sponsor or a business in each episode. As you saw earlier in the broadcast, I introduced this episode from Kalahari Resorts in Sandusky, Ohio. Here's a more in-depth look at the resort in this episode's Sponsors Spotlight. I would like to take this opportunity to give you a tour of Kalahari Resorts in Sandusky, Ohio. Their website is www.kalahariresorts.com and their phone number is 1-877-525-2427. They are America's largest indoor water park. They actually have locations in Sandusky, Ohio and up in Wisconsin. They have many places for you to be able to eat. There are places for you to be able to shop to get souvenirs from your vacation. There are places for the kids to play. They have a big game room downstairs where you can have your kids go down, play video games. Just like a Chuck E. Cheese or a Dave & Buster's. They can get tickets that they can turn in to be able to bring home prizes. Here you're looking at some of their animals that they have on site. During the summertime, you actually have the abilities to get up more close and personal with them, but not during the wintertime, unfortunately. As I mentioned before, that Kalahari Resorts is the largest indoor water park in the United States. They have many rides at Kalahari. They have the Leopard's Lair, which you're looking at right here. This is a place where the kids like to play. There's small water slides for the kids, and it is a place where you will definitely get wet. This is the wave pool, which gives big waves. It's also a great place for the family to be. These are some of their water slides that they have there. This is a 4-man race. This here is the Tanzania Swirl, which is a single ride, and this here is a 4-man ride, so a family can go on it, and it's a great fun ride. And this here is the Flow Rider. This is something that myself, my son Brendan, who you're looking at right now, and my other son Ryan were able to ride a lot of times on our recent visit there, and we had a great time. Kalahari is a great time. It's a great time. It's a great place to take your family. They always have reasonable prices. Always check their websites for deals. They have what's called a Beat the Clock special. You can usually get a good deal there. And I just invite you to take your family. So please visit their website or give them a call. There's different styles of rooms. There's different, so anything that your family would want to do on vacation, call them or visit their website. I guarantee you'll find something for it. And if you do happen to call them or make a reservation with them, let them know that JRG Photography referred you to them. I hope you enjoyed that look at Kalahari Resorts, and I hope you've enjoyed this episode of the Martinville Raceway Report. A big thank you to Shane Cluck and Rich McIntyre for allowing me to interview them for this episode. And I also want to mention another sponsor of Rich McIntyre's, the main station in Clyde, Ohio. That was unfortunately overlooked in the interview that I had with him. The days are getting longer, they're trying to get warmer, and the engines will be roaring for another great season of Martinville Raceway before you know it. April 6th will be here before you know it, so get your carts ready, and we'll see you at the track.